There exists an archangel whose very name was whispered only in the deepest chambers of ancient temples, whose power was so profound that scribes deliberately omitted him from sacred texts. Tonight, you will discover why the seventh among the heavenly host remained hidden for millennia, and what happens when mercy itself becomes the most dangerous force in creation. In the dusty archives of medieval monasteries, scholars discovered something that shattered their understanding of divine hierarchy. Among the canonical 7 archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Selephael, Jegudiel, and Barachiel, there appeared fragments mentioning an 8th name that was actually the 7th, Zadkiel, righteousness of God. But this was no simple omission. Ancient Aramaic texts revealed that Zadkiel's name was deliberately obscured, written in codes and hidden behind veils of metaphor. The reason became clear when translators realized what they had uncovered. This was the Archangel of Mercy, but mercy without limits. Mercy that could undo divine judgment itself. Medieval chroniclers wrote of strange phenomena occurring when Zadkiel's name was spoken during the full moon. Prisoners would find their cell doors inexplicably open. Those cursed by generational sins would wake free from burdens their families had carried for centuries. But most disturbing of all, some reported that even the damned could find reprieve, something that challenged the very foundations of cosmic justice. The early church fathers understood the dangerous implications. If word spread that an archangel existed who could override divine punishment, what would happen to moral order? So they buried his name, scattered references across obscure texts, and left only whispers for those determined enough to seek the truth. If you're ready to uncover more ancient secrets that have been deliberately hidden from humanity, subscribe now and ring that bell. The mysteries we're about to explore will change everything you thought you knew about the divine realm. Ancient Jewish mystical texts speak of Zadkiel as the keeper of celestial keys, not the keys to heaven's gates, but to heaven's prisons. Where other archangels enforced divine law, Zadkiel possessed the unique authority to unlock spiritual bondage that even God's justice had sealed. The Book of Enoch, though not included in biblical canon, describes Zadkiel as the one who approached the throne of the Almighty when the first generation of humanity faced the consequences of the fallen angel's corruption. While justice demanded punishment, Zadkiel presented a case for mercy that resonated through the heavenly courts. His argument was so compelling that he was granted powers no other celestial being possessed, the ability to break chains that were meant to be eternal. Byzantine texts record testimonies of those who claimed Zadkiel's intervention in their lives. A merchant family in Constantinople, cursed with poverty after their ancestor broke a sacred vow, suddenly found their fortunes reversed after 3 generations of suffering. A bloodline tainted by a patriarch's terrible sin discovered that their children were born free from the spiritual darkness that had plagued their lineage for centuries. But Zadkiel's mercy came with a price. Those who received his intervention often reported profound spiritual experiences that left them fundamentally changed. Some described visions of violet fire burning away not just their sins, but parts of their very identity. Others spoke of feeling the weight of understanding cosmic justice so deeply that they could barely function in ordinary life. Thursday has always been known as Jupiter's Day, but few understand why this particular day was considered the most dangerous for spiritual work in ancient traditions. The connection lies with Zadkiel, whose essence medieval astrologers linked to the great planet's expansive energy. Unlike other archangels associated with solar or lunar forces, Zadkiel was said to embody Jupiter's paradoxical nature, benevolent yet overwhelming, generous yet potentially destructive. Ancient Chaldean astronomers noted that Jupiter's largest storms produced violet-colored lightning, a phenomenon they interpreted as Zadkiel's presence manifesting in the physical realm. The violet flame became central to understanding Zadkiel's nature. Kabbalistic texts describe this flame as neither creative nor destructive, but transformative in ways that defied comprehension. Where other divine fires purified or consumed, Zadkiel's violet flame allegedly had the power to retroactively change the spiritual nature of past actions. This concept terrified ancient theologians. If Zadkiel could transform the spiritual essence of past deeds, he possessed power that bordered on altering reality itself. Some heretical texts suggested that Zadkiel's violet flame could even influence divine memory, making it as if certain sins had never occurred. Practitioners who claimed to work with Zadkiel's energy reported that Thursdays, especially during Jupiter's strongest astrological aspects, were times when the boundaries between mercy and cosmic law became dangerously thin. Many who attempted to invoke Zadkiel's presence during these periods found their prayers answered in ways they never expected, and sometimes never wanted. Here lies the greatest paradox in all of celestial lore. How does an archangel of pure mercy become an instrument of divine wrath? Ancient texts reveal that Zadkiel's unlimited compassion creates a terrifying mathematical problem in cosmic justice. When mercy is extended infinitely, it eventually becomes indistinguishable from its opposite. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain fragments describing Zadkiel as the angel who loves so completely that his love becomes terrible to behold. This wasn't poetic metaphor. It was a warning about the nature of absolute forgiveness. Consider this. If every sin can be forgiven, every wrong undone, every consequence erased, then the very concept of justice loses meaning. Zadkiel's mercy, when taken to its logical conclusion, created a crisis that threatened the moral structure of existence itself. The solution, according to esoteric traditions, was both elegant and horrifying. Zadkiel became the enforcer of mercy. Those who rejected his forgiveness faced not punishment, but the terrible weight of unlimited compassion being withdrawn. Ancient Persian texts describe this as experiencing the silence of heaven, a spiritual state where even the possibility of redemption vanishes forever. This dual nature explains why Zadkiel appears in both salvation narratives and apocalyptic prophecies. His presence could mean ultimate liberation or ultimate damnation, often simultaneously. Medieval mystics wrote that encountering Zadkiel was like standing before an infinite ocean of love. You could either dive in and be transformed beyond recognition, or stand on the shore and watch it recede forever. Throughout history, desperate souls have discovered ways to reach Zadkiel when all other hope seemed lost. These weren't formal prayers or religious rituals, but spontaneous cries from the depths of genuine despair. Moments when human suffering became so profound that it somehow pierced the celestial realm. Ancient Roman records, later preserved in Christian monasteries, describe a slave who called out to unknown powers while chained in the arena. Witnesses reported that his shackles simply fell away, though no key was used and no lock was picked. The slave walked free, but was found 3 days later in a state of such profound spiritual transformation that he could no longer remember his own name. Medieval plague chronicles contain numerous accounts of entire families discovering themselves mysteriously protected from the Black Death after moments of absolute surrender to divine will. These weren't cases of simple survival. Medical observers noted that the plague symptoms would begin to manifest, then reverse completely, leaving the affected individuals healthier than before their illness began. But Zadkiel's interventions came with a consistent pattern that ancient scholars called the price of freedom. Those who received his direct aid often reported that while their immediate crisis was resolved, they found themselves carrying a burden of cosmic understanding that made ordinary life nearly impossible to bear. Some became wandering mystics, unable to settle in one place because they could see the spiritual connections underlying all events. Others retreated from the world entirely, overwhelmed by their perception of the universe's infinite complexity. A few tried to share their experiences, only to be dismissed as mad or heretical. In the most ancient prophetic texts, those predating both Christianity and rabbinical Judaism, Zadkiel appears in a role that modern theologians rarely discuss. He is described as the Archangel who will close the gates of mercy when the final age begins. This presents the ultimate paradox, the being of infinite compassion becoming the one who declares that the time for forgiveness has ended. Enochian literature suggests that Zadkiel's final act will be to withdraw his presence from creation entirely, leaving humanity to face the consequences of its choices without the possibility of divine intervention. But even this apparent cruelty serves a greater mercy. By removing the safety net of eternal forgiveness, Zadkiel forces creation to take responsibility for itself. The end of mercy becomes the beginning of true freedom, the freedom that comes from understanding that our choices matter absolutely and eternally. Ancient seers described this moment as simultaneously the most terrible and most beautiful event in cosmic history. Terrible because it means the end of second chances. Beautiful because it represents creation finally coming of age, no longer dependent on divine forgiveness, but capable of choosing righteousness from its own understanding. Some esoteric traditions suggest that this moment is not distant but imminent, that we are living in the last age of Zadkiel's active mercy. They point to the increasing spiritual awakening in humanity as evidence that we are being prepared for an existence without celestial safety nets. Whether this prophecy is literal or metaphorical remains one of the great mysteries. But the message remains consistent across cultures and centuries. Mercy is not weakness, but the most powerful force in existence. And like all true power, it comes with responsibilities that extend far beyond our immediate understanding. The violet fire burns still in the spaces between worlds, waiting for those who dare to call upon the seventh name. But remember, some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. What ancient mysteries would you like us to explore next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. Hit subscribe, and let us know which mythological traditions call to your soul. The deeper we go together, the more incredible secrets we'll uncover. Your voice guides our journey into the unknown.